Hey YouTube, this is Dinner for One. Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I'm going to be making an Asian inspired dish using these simple ingredients. I have some ramen, I have some stir fry blend, some hot dogs, and some soy sauce. So stay tuned and find out what this recipe is. It's actually quite simple. Remember, the goal of this particular channel is to make things as quick and simple as possible. And of course, it's dinner for one. So I'll be right back to show you what we're doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a pot. So put some water in there. Have about a third of a pot of water. And I'm going to heat it up to a boil so I can add in my ramen. Now what I do suggest, and this is something I do, I mean if you do it differently that's fine, is I add in the flavor packet toward the end. It seems to me like when you put in the flavoring in the water itself to make the ramen, that what happens is the flavor kind of gets diluted if you have more water than you really need. And so you kind of lose that flavor in the process. But if you add in the packet toward the very end, or in fact even after you've taken out some of that water, then it adds a lot more flavor to the ramen itself. So let me get this water ready and I'll be back with you in just a moment as soon as it's boiling. Okay, we're back for just a moment. I just want to show you guys the water's almost to the boil. I have my ramen ready to go in there. I already opened up my flavor pack, but again, I save that till the end. And then I have here I got 3 hot dogs that I sliced up to little round circles. I don't know about you all, but when I eat Asian inspired food, any kind, I like to have veggies, but I also like to have some type of meat in there. Some suggestions you could try adding in, if you have some chicken breast that maybe is roasted or you have in the oven, you have some leftovers, you can dice that up to small pieces or shred it, put that in there as well. Again, these types of things like the weenie, the hot dog, you're going to add in after your ramen has already been boiling and softening, getting ready. You're going to add that in there so that it gets cooked as well, even more. Any veggies you're going to put in there too. So you'll be seeing in a moment I'm going to add in a stir fry blend that I have of veggies. And then at the very end, of course, we add in our flavoring. And then, of course, we top it off and finish it off in our bowl with a little bit of soy sauce. So I'll be back in just a moment. Hang tight. Okay, so we're back and the water is almost ready for me to put in the ramen. I apologize for the wait, but unfortunately when using an electric stove it takes longer for it to heat up. Again, there's my weenie ready to go. I mentioned earlier that you could use chicken. You could also use pork if you have any leftover, say pork chops, fry them up real quick, or maybe bake them in the oven and then chop them up. You can add that in there. Because remember, anything you put in there, it's going to soften up with the water anyway as it's cooking the ramen, so that's going to happen. I just want to show you, and you probably heard it earlier when it was beeping, it was my microwave. What I do is my stir fry blend, rather than cook it separately in another pot, I just basically microwave it a little bit just to soften it, get it going, thaw it out, because remember this was in the freezer. And as you can see, it has a blend of peppers and broccoli and just different things in there that I find very yummy, especially in Asian inspired food. And so I'm going to add that in as well. Okay, and I kind of cut it open because you want to kind of take a look at it. It looks like that inside. It's actually quite tasty, and especially once it's all ready to go, it's very delicious. Alright, so we look over here at my water, you can see that it's now boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and stop for a moment so I can pop in the ramen and let's get going. Okay, so I already got my ramen in there. You can see the water's boiling. I do recommend that when you put your ramen in, as soon as you can, agitate it, get it nice and wet. It starts softening up right away, especially if the water's already boiling. And you start separating it out, okay? Because otherwise you get these clumps. And sometimes after it's already cooked, I've noticed, it'll get real sticky. So you get clumps of ramen together rather than actually separated noodles. So, alright. Now because I want my veggies to get soft, I'm going to go ahead and put those in as well. And keep in mind, the veggies are cold. They're not frozen anymore, but they are cold. probably not going to use the whole bag, so I could leave some space for the weenie in there too, the hot dog. So I'm going to cover that up and let that boil for a little bit. And we'll be right back. Now that I'm back, we're going to go ahead and see that now the veggies are starting to heat up too with the ramen. So the last component I'm going to go ahead and add in then is I'm going to go ahead and add in our hot dog, our weenie. And again, we're going to mix that up a little bit. Now the reason why I put the weenie last, in case you don't know this, is simply because the weenie will cook faster in boiling water. It's already pre-cooked, most weenies are. That's the reason why some people eat them aka raw. But in reality, they're already kind of pre-cooked, excuse me. And my allergies are acting up. And so that's the reason why I put it last. So that'll cook pretty quickly with that. So we'll go ahead and cover it one more time. And continue to let it heat up to a boil. And we'll be right back. Alright, so we're back. So as you can see, the water is now boiling. The veggies are in there cooking real well. The weenie's in there cooking. And ramen's still finishing up. Okay. What I'm going to go ahead and do at this point then is I'm going to go ahead and dump out most of the liquid from this because I like my ramen kind of on the dry side so that it gets the flavor of the seasoning packet, but also that soy sauce that I'm going to add at the end. Just so you know, for the purposes of this video, I would normally serve this in a bowl like this for me to eat, but I'm actually making this to take with me to work today. It's going to be my lunch for today. So I'm actually going to use a bowl over here, a Tupperware bowl. And that's where I'm going to take my ramen / Oriental inspired meal to work. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and stop the video so I can dump out that water as much as possible. I'll show you what's left and how much I leave in there. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back for just a moment. I just wanted to see that pretty much I left it almost dry. There's a little bit of moisture in there, but not much. But that should be just enough to let you mix in that seasoning. And as you can see, it's not only going to flavor the ramen, it's going to flavor the veggies, it's going to flavor the hot dog that you put in there. And you'll get the additional flavor of the soy sauce too. When you use the soy sauce, be careful though. Soy sauce is very tricky. You have to kind of put a little bit of time, taste it, see if you like it. If it's still not enough, put a little bit more. Never pour too much right off the bat because oftentimes, depending on the soy sauce that you're using, it might end up being way too salty. So you want to kind of add it little by little, so that you can get that flavor that you want right at the way you want. Some people like a little more salty, some people like it less salty. Soy sauce is very salty, and again, like I said, depending on which brand you're using, some are saltier than others, in my opinion. So please make sure that you add it gradually. Don't just add it all at once. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, so I went ahead and mixed in the pot still the powder, the little flavor packet. I poured a little bit, I mixed it up, poured a little bit more, mixed it up until eventually I had used up the packet. And then of course the last step, and as you can see, it looks very delicious, and it's also very hearty because you have that meat type component in there, and of course your veggies, is I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of soy sauce. Just kind of drizzle over a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of mix a little bit there. It's quite hot, so you have to be careful. Don't burn yourself. And then I'm going to go ahead and give it a little try here. So just a moment. Perfect. That is exactly the way I wanted it. Just the right amount of soy too. Well, anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you'll give this recipe a try. Very tasty, very hearty, and as always, dinner for one is now served.